So this is happening. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Francis, and welcome back to Ex-Catholic Priest Reacts. Sorry for the grungy look with my shirt. I'm still having to protect my new tattoo, which I don't know if you can see, but it's flaking, which is just a normal part of the process. If you want to check out a vlog that I did when I got the tattoo, I put that up. It's my latest video. I'll put a link on this channel on one of these sides if you want to check it out. So, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. The Exorcism of Emily Rose is a 2005? Yeah, I guess I was in high school when I saw it. Wow, that's insane. It's a 2005 American supernatural horror legal drama film directed by Scott Derrickson and starring Laura Linney and Tom Wilkinson. Okay. The film is loosely based on the story of Annalise Michel and follows a self-proclaimed agnostic who acts as defense okay, blah, blah, blah. That's why we're watching the movie. So I did see this film many times, probably twice in theaters and then multiple times throughout my life. It was significant. At that moment of my life I guess I was probably 16-ish. And at that point in my life, I was really starting to become very serious in religion. If you don't already know, I've been a Catholic my whole life, but it wasn't until 14, 15 where we started going to a traditional Catholic community that I really put my all into it and really started practicing the faith, as they say. And one thing that happens in this process for a lot of people, I've witnessed this, especially with young men in that community, is that there is this obsession, for lack of a better term, with
possession.
And I remember hearing from different priests that the stories, especially this story, because it says it's loosely based on the story of Annalise Michel, a German girl. These stories of possession and movies, you have to be careful. The reason is because you're dealing with the devil. You're dealing with some sort of demonic possession. And whenever you mess with the dark side, whenever you read these stories, when you become infatuated with these stories and all of that, it can cause harm, they say. And at the same time, they say that these stories are meant to be signs of the supernatural. So we're to use them to the extent that they help our belief, but not to the point where we accidentally become obsessed with the satanic and all of that, and then open the door for possible influence from the devil. Yes, that is something they say. Looking too much into this, studying too much into this can be like opening a door
For Satan.
So obviously, I was very intrigued by possession and all of that, and at the same time, scared shitless. So we're going to watch the movie together, and I'll share my thoughts with you. But I also want you to comment down below. Tell me your favorite exorcism movie, why you like it, how it affected you. Maybe you also have left religion, and what do you think now? What is your idea of possessions? Because before, for me, I believed them, of course. I thought this is a clear sign that there's demons. And so, ergo, God. But thinking back, and I'll probably get into this more as we start watching the movie, because you're like, Francis, let's watch the movie. Come on. Sorry, it's on Netflix, so pause this, go watch the movie if you want to. During that time, I was particularly sensitive to the idea of hell, of demons, of the punishment of going to hell. I didn't have a very good self-perception. I considered myself to be very weak, not a good Catholic. I wasn't being obedient, even though I really wanted to be, because I was so weak. I kept falling into sins, impure sins. And so this fear of possibly going to hell was always there. It wasn't the at the forefront of my mind, but it was there. And it's scary when you actually believe that if you trip and fall spiritually, that you might be sending yourself to hell. That's a scary perception. I mean, some people will call me scrupulous, but I considered it to be a real thing and a real possibility for me. So I was a little scared. But Francis, you must trust the love of God. Okay. Anyway, let's start the movie. Holy shit. Of course, a creepy house in a farm. Typical. Never live in a creepy house if you don't want to be possessed. That's what I've learned from all of my exorcism movies. Then we have the priest.
You're the medical examiner?
Oh, not the priest, the medical examiner, because that's another thing, another person that has to be there during an exorcism. It's so ominous. That's the boyfriend and the family, the sisters. Not a happy scene. The father.
Mr. Rose.
Everybody looks like we are done. Office. Oh, this must be when she died. That's right. I totally forgot that half of this movie is a court case. Oh, that's so amazing because of everything that's happening right now with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I'm like all into it. Be fun to see the court again.
Sorry, Mr. Rose, but I cannot state conclusively that the cause of death was natural.
Right, because they arrest the priest for being the cause of her death. Now I remember. It's been a long time since I've seen this last. Oh, Laura Linney. I just picture her as the mother on Ozark.
Have you seen the news about this priest?
I heard something about an exorcism gone bad, but I don't know the details.
The DA charged him with negligent homicide.
Do not ask me to take
The Archdiocese specifically requested you. Try to get the deal. If the priest won't do it and this does go to trial, the Archdiocese feels his testimony could be an embarrassment. So under no circumstances.
Wait a second. Holy cow. This is so legit, this type of interaction. The Archdiocese doesn't want him to testify. Huh. Is it because they're worried about the public knowing the truth about what happened? Or is it because they want to save face and they don't want him to expose what happens during an exorcism and put the Catholic Church up for scrutiny? How do you say that? Scrutiny. Oh, it just gives people more ammunition against me saying that I'm not intelligent. That's why I didn't become a priest, because nobody does that ever. Scrutiny. The archdiocese doesn't want the scrutiny of the public on the workings of the Catholic Church. They want to keep it secret. That holds water. That's more important than this priest. They're kind of just letting him go, basically. Creepy house. Completely unnecessary. Looks like all the mothers that were at my former community.
To be a teacher. That's why she went away to the university.
She went to the den of Satan, the public university.
I ask because I know you're a churchgoer. Now you're set to prosecute a man of God.
Your priest broke the law. The young girl is dead. If he's a man of God, then personally, I think he's even more subject to the laws of moral behavior and punishment. If it were up to me, he'd get no deal.
Oh, yeah. This sounds just like... Oh, I don't want to make any generalizations, but I'm not surprised that a highly religious person is very strict and very firm, condemning other people on moral grounds. You see it all the time.
What about forgiveness and compassion? Isn't that part of your creed? Or does that just get in the way of your work?
Oh, so the agnostic, because she proclaims herself as agnostic, she's the one who's like, wait a second, aren't you people supposed to be compassionate and realize that humans fail and maybe there might be more to the story? And no. He broke the law, definitely. This is before going to trial. He definitely broke the law. He's a man of God. He's set up to a high standard, so condemn him to eternal punishment.
In the case before you, the evidence will show that the victim had a serious medical condition that demanded medical treatment. A ritual exorcism performed by the defendant, allegedly to cure the victim by ridding her of demonic forces. You talked to Emily about going off to college.
Yes, she told me she was excited, but nervous that she would be away from her family in the big city. And she'd met a boy named Jason. She didn't want her mother to know this, because her mother did not approve of dancing, and had warned her about...
Yes, of course. And this is where my mind was going when I was watching this at that age. That how do I begin to explain this? There's this slippery slope that happens spiritually. This is what I was taught as a Catholic, and maybe you have similar experiences. You don't just wake up one day and then you're possessed, or you don't just wake up one day and you're condemned to hell or something like that. You have to invite Satan and all of this into your life. And how do you do that? It's by slipping. Maybe it's not a full-blown, in this case, like fornication or something like that, which is, if you don't know, sleeping with someone that you're not married to. Maybe it's not that extreme in the beginning, but it's slowly becoming more and more loose in how you follow the rules and regulations, the principles of religion. Watching this, I was thinking this was the beginning of her letting Satan into her life by doing things that were against her parents, which is the ideas of the religious community. I'm sure looking at them, it's like they're just, one shade of clothing shy of being Amish. You know what I mean? Watching this, I apply that to my own life. Like, oh my gosh, I don't want to start slipping in the small things, which eventually grow into bigger things and then bigger. And then you end up finding yourself in a position where you can be, you're just you just open up the doors and the windows to every sort of evil coming into your life, any sort of temptation, any sort of, I mean, in this extreme case, like possession or something. It's not like I was afraid specifically of that happening, but of ultimately falling. Here we go, 3 a.m.
Thought she smelled something burning.
Horrible.
That things just went from bad to worse.
To be honest, it seems very overdramatic. Just like the first time that I saw The Exorcist when I was older, looking back, I thought, this is just, it's very Hollywood. But it's a perfect type of topic for a movie, a horror movie. And I think that's why every single year we have some sort of exorcism movie. Go to the church, but
It's too late.
out of all the scary things that have happened so far, the two ladies that pray the rosary in the church turning into demon faces, that doesn't seem so unrealistic.
Emily? Emily?
Please explain how this psychotic epileptic disorder would manifest itself.
The seizures would have the characteristic symptoms of schizophrenia, such as
I really like in this movie how they leave the final verdict up to the viewers. They show a scene from the perspective of she was possessed. But then on the other side, they show the same scene, but portrayed from a different perspective, from a more medical perspective. Obviously, because the film is The Exorcism of Emily Rose and not the psychotic epileptic disorder of Emily Rose, they're going to focus on that, the exorcism part, the possession part. It also, makes a better horror movie. But I like how they leave it up to the viewer. What do you think?
Okay.
I hate that sound.
The forces that were in control of her, that were inside her. The demons.
The demons?
Egosum clientus habitat.
Osum qui venit in nomine Eus.
Sir, do you often read the Bible?
Yes, I do.
Yes, M. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, commonly referred to as the Bible of Abnormal Psychiatry. Have you read that?
No.
Have you?
According to the DSM. And you trusted him, right?
Yes, he is our parish priest.
I trust him. He's the parish priest. There were a lot of people because in our community there was this idea of you can only really trust the people from inside. Like even when I was going through my crisis, I was asking for a psychologist or psychiatrist, somebody to talk to, a professional. And the response that I was getting was, we're going to find you one. Just hold tight. We're going to find you a psychologist that is connected to our community. They're even afraid of letting someone outside. There's just a sense of distrust. So when you're in that type of mental system, you automatically go to the priest, who is this authority figure, not only of the spiritual, but also of just the day-to-day. What should we do? Especially when you're in religion, everything is connected to religion, not just specific religious actions, but everything. People would go to the priest for anything, for any sort of any question of morality, anything. They would go to the priest and say, tell me what to do. So this is very believable.
But what you saw that night in Emily, that did scare you.
God, if I'd known, I never would have been there. I started praying again since then, you know.
Maybe that's what will happen to me. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't want to invite any sort of demonic forces. But it does make you think, like, how much proof do you need in order to have faith? People say, like, oh, there's no proof, that's why I don't believe. How much proof would actually convince somebody to believe? And is that even the type of belief that is worthy? You know, it's like, why do you not kill somebody? Oh, because I'm afraid of going to jail for the rest of my life, or going on death row. It's like, that's the reason why you don't take someone's life? Really? That's the reason? It's not because you think that it's wrong? No, I'm afraid of the punishment. Just a thought.
Defense calls Dr. Sadira Adani.
Here we go.
I study the spiritual experiences of people in various cultures and the physiological and psychological go during these experiences.
Objection.
On what grounds?
How about silliness, Your Honor? A young girl suffered terribly and died. Do we have to subject her illness to this pseudo-scientific analysis?
Both counselors, please approach the bench.
And I went out for a walk just to clear my head, and I was thinking about what you said to me. Thinking, what if demons really do exist? God knows, I have my own demons.
Don't we all, sister?
And of all the people walking by that day, I found that locket. What are the chances of that? Like, no matter what mistakes I've made in the past, at that moment, I was exactly where I was meant to be. Like I was on the right path.
I didn't mean to pause it so soon. This is revealing something that, I mean, of course I could say, like, oh, when you're in that type of situation and you have all these thoughts going through your head of religion, of demons, of God, and all that, obviously all these little situations that happen, you can easily interpret them in supernatural, abstract terms. I can say that and everything. But there's another interesting thing that I've been experiencing since leaving religion, leaving the priesthood, I don't want to say leaving the faith, because it wasn't something that I necessarily wanted, but it happened. I've experienced so many coincidences that have also given me a sense of security that I'm on the right path. Not necessarily that I've reached the destination or anything, like finally I've left religion, so now I'm in the best situation and this is my goal. But more specifically, like, I'm being taken care of. It's hard to explain, because I know that some people out there, some of you might interpret that to mean that you're automatically going to think, oh, that's because God still wants you to come back. And God's, leaving breadcrumbs in that direction. Okay. I'm not discrediting that, but seeing it from my perspective now, without necessarily supernatural terms applied to it, I wouldn't really say that. The things that have happened, like meeting somebody at the right time or being in this situation at the right time, it's like I'm being held up by something that's keeping me safe. I haven't gone down bad paths necessarily, or situations that could have been worse it didn't happen, or being in the right place at the right time, always having enough money, especially considering my situation now where I could have easily ended up on the streets, or sleeping on someone's sofa, not being able to live on my own. But things have always happened at the right time, and it gives me a sense of knowing that I'm on the right path. Damn, 3 o'clock again.
It was exactly 3 a.m. 3 a.m. is the demonic witching hour. It's a way for demons to mock the Holy Trinity.
And I can't tell you how many times when I woke up at 3 a.m. on the dot that I was freaked the F out. I remember it happening after watching this movie.
Why would you make such a tape?
Ever since the technology has been available, exorcists have used tape recorders to authenticate the ritual and provide a record.
Someone on Twitter, when I asked about exorcism movies and all that, they mentioned the fact that what about videos? Like, he just said that tape recorders were, when that technology was available, they started doing that to authenticate it. What about video recorders? I'm going to check to see if there are any video recordings of exorcisms. So I'm looking and I can't find anything right now about like the church's teaching on recording it, like video recording, but someone filmed an exorcism through the keyhole of a church. The Catholic Church says, yes, that was real, but watching it, it's not that clear for me. It is creepy. I can't find anything about why there's not a lot of videos about this, especially because they say that there's more and more possessions that are happening, but I don't know. Interesting thought.
Allow it into evidence.
This is where shit gets real.
Play the tape for us now.
This is the Exorcism of Emily Rose. It has begun.
The music.
Forgive those that trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from
I don't want people to say, oh, look, the cats, they must be connected with Satan. Aslan is not connected with Satan. Look at him. No, not at all.
Tell me your 6 names! We are the ones who dwell within.
That was intense.
Ultimately, we both felt that she was beyond medical care and that she had to see this through to the end by faith alone.
There were so many instances where, I'm sorry about the dogs, there were so many dark moments in my life where I thought, the only thing that can get me through this is my faith, my belief that God will support me. I mean, I'm the one who lives with myself, right? So I can say that I really did try to have that perspective, to really just abandon myself in front of God, to show him that I couldn't do this on my own. In that state, I realized that I could just allow myself to just disappear convincing myself that I was living by faith, that faith was going to support me. Now my dog's barking. Oh, this always happens when I want to record. I could just do that. I could just become this like victim of my suffering and my crisis that I was going through, and maybe, I don't know, would have been an example to all the people who are now criticizing me for leaving and trying to find help on my own. Maybe I could have done that, but then there was something interesting that happened. I realized that there was another option, and that was getting myself out of the situation and finding help, finding psychological help, whatever kind of help that I needed, getting myself out of the situation. It's like being in like a bad marriage. I'm not going to go into details, but where there's maybe SA, if you know what I'm talking about, like, or any sort of abuse. And just thinking like, no, I'm in a marriage and God wants me to be in the marriage because I'm the parent of my children and I have to. And then it's like, no, you don't have to stay in that situation. You can get, oh my goodness, these dogs. Oh my gosh. I went outside. It was Satan. There were 4 black dogs. And there was the big dog was the male dog, and he was trying to get with another dog, but then another one of the little dogs was trying to attack the big dog, and they were like right outside my house, and then all the dogs in the neighborhood just went crazy, and my neighbor got the hose and then scared them off, but it was Satan. And I totally forgot what I was talking about. So I hope it was good. I'll find out when I'm editing.
I believe that one day Emily will be recognized as a saint.
Why did God allow Emily to become possessed by demons and then die?
I can let Emily answer that.
Before continuing on, there's this idea that all bad things happen for a good end. There's a purpose to everything, purpose to suffering. And as I was saying before about me being in that state of complete helplessness before God, there was this idea that I was doing that for some purpose, something good, something, maybe even something that I wouldn't understand or I would never understand was at stake. And by doing that, I was somehow completing the will of God. And then I left and I saved myself. And I'm still here.
I asked the Blessed Mother, why do I suffer like this? I'm sorry, Emily. The demons are going to stay where they are, or you can choose to continue this. You'll suffer greatly, but through you, many will come to see that the realm of the Spirit is real.
This whole thing is like she has the choice of dying and going to heaven, or staying and becoming like a witness of the existence of evil to help other people come to the truth. And there's this, it's an interesting thing that happens in Catholicism where, without exaggerating, without asking for it, there's this sense of giving yourself to suffering and even suffer. Like here, it's black and white. These are your options, but that's not how it is normally, right? It's almost like giving yourself to the hardest suffering, if that's what God wants, in order for some, like I said before, in order for some better good to come out of it. When you have, as the good Catholic, the good Christian, the good follower, there's this expectation that as that person, you will choose the suffering willingly and graciously because you're so connected with God. And from the outside, it looks like, why are you doing that? But inside, it's like, I want this suffering. And it's very beautiful if you look at it within the Catholic structure, but it's not a natural reaction to suffering. It's almost like this battle that goes back and forth. You have your body telling you that you need to survive, that you need to make it through this and find any alley to get away from this. But then these supernatural ideas, this religious perspective that's telling you to just lay down and accept it and embrace it, love the suffering. Like I said, in that structure, it's like, yeah, it's beautiful, but it's something that's very difficult to expect from people. I mean, we have these heroes who do these amazing things, who even sacrifice their lives for some greater good, like someone who runs into a burning house to save someone. But it's like, how much can we put on someone? How much expectations can we place on a person to always do those heroic actions? And the thing is, in that religious perspective, the strength doesn't come from the person, it comes from God. So the more you abandon yourself to the situation, to the suffering, the more God will give you the strength in order to persevere to the end. I understand the religious perspective. I understand why people think that way, or they want to act that way. But in practice, it's just not that easy, and it's hard to expect that from everyone, and to be like for me, for example, I mean, people can think whatever they want, oh, he gave up. He just gave up, because they expected from me, especially as a priest, to act in a certain way because I was the guide, I was the example, I was Christ on earth. So this is the protocol for you. And I don't know if that's what the hierarchy, the priests above me, expected me to do, but it's just not, I don't want to say healthy, but it's wrong to place that expectation on someone, especially when they're going through suffering in a crisis, to just deal with it. Just abandon yourself to God and you'll make it through. It's not black and white. When you deal with a real person in a real situation who's really suffering, it's not that black and white. So I think that's a good place to end. I can probably talk your ear off like I normally do. But the movie ends. It's very open-ended. He gets sentenced. He gets found guilty, but doesn't have to serve any extra time. And you can watch the movie. But I thought it did bring up a lot of ideas. And I wonder, you as a viewer listening to what I'm saying, if you have any thoughts about anything that I said, about the movie, anything that's related to the subject, I'm curious to find out what you're thinking about it. So leave a comment, and maybe it's a good thing to think about all of these subjects. I'm not somebody who leaves religion and then is like, I'm not going to think about anything like that, like almost out of fear of letting it affect me again, like almost like a post-traumatic type of situation. But it does bring up a lot of thoughts and memories, so I'll be pondering some things after making this video as well. Thank you for stopping by again. Leave a comment, like the video, share the video if you want, and subscribe. Why not? And let me know what you want me to talk about next time, or if you have another movie suggestion, I'm all ears. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.